Thank you so much for inviting me with your community. I appreciate you, Raj, for working hard and organizing and bringing everybody together, because I know it takes a lot of hard work to bring everybody together and talk about the thing that really matter to all of us in deep of our heart. So I really appreciate you for bringing everybody together and going, I know that there is already millions of people are living the experience that I lived as a child, and I want to share, because many people who are stuck in that situation, they never come this far to come and share that experience, because we have a lot of barriers in the ground. So for everybody who don't know me, my name is נסרין, and I'm a survivor of modern day slavery, which means I escaped forced marriage and child labor in textile factory and extreme poverty. And today I am determined and very grounded in helping ending this slavery as soon and as fast I can, through my own way. So I'm here today to just talk about that. Sorry. Sorry, my things. So yeah. Do you want me, Raj, to just continue my story?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like you to continue your story, and maybe I will ask a few questions later, and in the end we will let the audience to ask you questions as well.
Okay. So I'm sure like there's a lot of data and information there on the internet which says like over 40 million people are still living in modern day slavery, in which 29 millions of them are women and girls. And I was one of them in that time. I come from very small village, undocumented village, where my society is very male dominated society. Women have not much rights, and until today the young girls are being forced into marriage. And when I was born in that village, I was born in a floor in a tiny room with no electricity, no white towels, and no doctors and no hospitals. And I feel that my mother may have held me in her arms with love, but her joy was soon dampened by the society, because I was not a boy. Girls were like so discriminated in our society. So when I was growing up, I saw a lot of like every single girls in my village being forced into marriage. And I still remember, I think I was around 7 or 8 when my older sister was being forced into marriage in a very early age. And that's when I knew that I will be next. And that was when it came to me, like I will be next into forced into marriage. That when like I started to really panic, and I had no role models, I had no educations, no parents that who could guide, and my curiosity was like, oh my god, all these girls are not feeling happy, they're crying. My sister was crying, and how hard it was for her to be forced into marriage and not able to do what she wanted to do. And that really pushed me to think out of the box. And I still remember like searching for and being curious to look for the role model and look for the education and look for things, and we had nothing for especially for girls. So I ended up when I was around 10, I ended up in the capital city of Kathmandu, and I ended up in a sweatshop in a textile factory in tiny room. For many of the people, they might not have an understanding what sweatshop means. It means like there will be a big factory which looks perfect, and then that big factories have the small factories and tiny factories, and the tiny factory have a small tiny room which is unmarked in these buildings, in the small room, where people like us who don't have a birth certificate, who are very marginalized, and most likely like very indigenous rural people, are being taken out from the village and put into that room to produce as much products we can. And I still remember we had, our room was 10 by 10, and we ate, we slept, we worked in that room. We were 6 people, and we would have quotas of products, you know, like 500 pieces a week, and we need to finish that 500 pieces in that week. And if we don't finish it on time, we will not get paid. That we were receiving like literally less than $2, and if we don't finish that on time, we will not get paid. So for that reason, we knew that we had to work, and sometime I would have to start morning, in the urgent case, like morning 4 a.m. to all the way to 8, 9, 10, and still the pile of clothes will not be finished, because it was a lot. 500 pieces in a week to finish, it was just a lot in 10 by 10 room. So and that's when I started to, like, I couldn't cry even, and I couldn't talk to people, so I started to talk to the shirt I was making. And I said every stitch I make, and I said, whoever is going to wear this shirt, I hope they can feel me, I hope they can feel my tears, and I'm sure they will not feel good if they wear this shirt, because you can imagine being 10, 11-year-old and being forced to work for 12 to 15 hours a day in a severe condition. And in our sweatshop, we didn't even had a bed. So in the evening, those clothes will turn into our bed, and that's what we would sleep onto. I don't know how old I am, so I always have to guess that I was around this and this age. And so yeah, that was the experience. And you know, you might know that fast fashion is one of the most polluting industry right now in our world. And you can imagine by yourself that how can you find $5 or $10 t-shirts, you know, in the department store, like how much the person got paid, how much the person who sourced the material got paid, and the whole supply chains are so hidden. And people like us who are very marginalized and disadvantaged, our bloods are squeezed out. And when I think of my childhood right now, it feels like it's not feels like, I know when I think of my childhood, it was stolen in slavery. And my sweatshop shut down after 2 years, because you know how the fashion industry, new design comes and the changes. And the agent made us work for 2 months, and he just disappeared. He just left us, abandoned us in that space. And that made me to either go to find a job and go find another sweatshop, or I ended up in the street. And most likely that's how in Nepal 10,000 plus women end up in the human trafficking. So I chose to be in the street because I really love the energy in the street moving. Because in that sweatshop I stayed for 2 years. My windows was locked, my door was locked. I didn't see in much people. I just saw that clothes over and over, and I made that clothes over and over. And so when I was in the street, it felt really little free space and little freedom. And when I was in the street one day, I I was watching all these people, and one of the dog comes and sniff on me, and behind this dog is kind, gentle person that I asked him if he can teach me, and he became my teacher, my mentor for this last 10 years. And you know, this is something very special for me to talk with Israeli community from Israel, because he loved Israel, and he used to take me to Chabad, and we used to do the Saturday ceremony with the group of community, because he was a Jewish, he was a Jewish American, left America when he was in his early 20s, and he spent most of his life in Nepal studying monk and different religion. And in his life, all he cared about is book and his dog. He didn't had children and the family. So when I came to his life, I literally became his project, and he started to help me how to how to read my name and how to write my name. And slowly he gave me education, and with that education I was able to understand what is basic human rights. And the more I started to study, I came to understand that the women and girls in my communities, we are simply commodities that are being traded and used, and we don't have any values. So that understanding made me feel like the sense of urgency, that this is very clear that this is a human rights violation, and the community have made it so normalized, and girls being forced into marriage at the age of 12. My older sister was 12, and she's being forced into marriage at the age of 12 is totally okay in my community. So the oppression was so normalized in my society, and people felt that's totally okay. And same, like, you know, sending children to the sweatshop for the family, it was okay. And I just want to tell, like, I feel like my parent loved me as every parent loved their children. And my father, he worked for the car industry as a welder, and in New Delhi in India. And his working condition was so bad, and he was paid in a month only $15 a month, you know, which was like around 1,400 rupees. So can you imagine getting paid $15 a month? And in that money, he had to send half of his money to the family in the village, and then half of the money that he has to live with. And his working condition and his living and his lack of nutritious food and lack of hygiene and healthcare put him in a very severe condition where he lost the ability, his mind went, he lost the ability of his brain before I was even born. And so, like, when I had when my older sister, my father was okay, but when he goes to the car industry, and that pressure of the work really takes his brain away, and I had no longer father. So the car industry took my father, fashion industry took my childhood, and it is continuing to taking more and more people lives, these industries. So I was around 16 and I took some loan, and my teacher, he didn't have much money, and he could only support me with education and buying me books. But I still had to find my ways to take care of my food and my place and things like that. So I started to look for a loan, and I managed to take a loan. And with that loan money, I started a small social business called Local Women's Handicrafts. And that local women's handicrafts, everything I wanted to create opposite of that sweatshop, like really opposite. Like in my sweatshop, I didn't have the windows. Like, how can we get our windows in our working space? How can we have nutritious food? How can we have clean water? How can the women can have health and education? So I started to build that space, and very like just in 3 or 4 years, our local women's handicrafts became more like an activist place than a business place, and people, journalists, activists, the disadvantaged and marginalized women from the community, they all started to come together. And I remember that energy of like everybody is coming together and pushing to change, and change for good, for basic human rights, food, water, shelter. And that brought us to in 2012 we got noticed by Forbes, and I didn't even understood what Forbes was. So I tell people that if you have a vision and if you believe in something is not right, and if you speak up, and not just to speak up, but do something about it, you know, and once you do something about it, that's where the real change will happen. And that change is it's like the most needed, you know. Like I could have totally like took my education from my teacher and totally used for something else, you know, but I was determined. I was like, no, this society needs to be changed, and this needs to happen. The women can change. And in 2015 we started to build our first center. And in that center, we installed biogas, that all the recycle can produce free cooking gas. We started to use a 100-year-old loom, which does not need any electricity. So it can be more sustainable, because weaving and some of the arts that we have in our culture, it's not just a way to make stuff. It's a process, and it's a journey of healing, and it's a tool to use to meditate and craft and arts, you know. And this whole fast fashion industry is really taking people and destroying our indigenous arts and cultures. So I wanted to restore that through local women's handicrafts. And right now, so far, we have empowered hundreds of women, and you can go to the localwomenshandicrafts.com and you can see all these reusable hemp natural products, and you can, most importantly, meet the women. You know, there's all these women's stories, what their life is, who they are, and what they represent. So I'm right now in Nepal, only 2% of the women are a business owner, and 98% is run by the male figure. So of course this society is going to be unbalanced, because 98% of the women is out of the economy. And so that's what I am trying to build and change that society. And you know, still some of my cousins and my village is still undocumented. My teacher gave me, he made a birthday for me for 11/11/1991. He gave me my last name, Sheikh, and so now I have made up birthday, and I have my citizenship, and I have and I'm trying to end the slavery first in Nepal, and then slowly all over the world I can. So yeah, that's a little bit about my story. And Raj, you can ask me questions and I will love to answer.
So thank you. It was very, very meaningful to share the story with us. Someone have a question that they want to ask?
Yes.
I have one question, but maybe someone else.
Hi, Nesreen. Thank you so much for sharing the story. You had a very interesting life. You're very, very young and you've been through so much. So thank you very much for sharing this with us. I just wanted to ask you if what do you think the world should do, or as consumers, or I don't know, I don't know what to do to make things better. Like, I'm not buying fast fashion. I don't believe in it. I know that there is women behind it, and I don't want to give this my hands or my money. But I'm only like, I'm one of 100 people that is so excited to buy a 20 shekel shirt. And if you, when I talk to this about with people, they like, also my cousins, you know, they're so young and they work so hard for their money and they want to spend it on clothes and they don't understand what is going on behind the curtain. And I'm asking myself all the time, like, how can people know? How can people be aware of the situation?
Yeah, that's you know, one of the things that I feel is technology is really bringing us together, and now, you know, I can come and share that story. That's like just one way to really recognize that we have the problem, but at the same time I feel like we need to continue making a noise and hold the because, you know, fast fashion is being promoted because it's somebody's buying it, you know. It's like these people are still making billions of dollars, and you know, in the ground we are being paid like 12-15 hours a day and then less than $2. Like I didn't share that, you know, what I was eating in that sweatshop. Most of my 80% of tooth is damaged because I drank 71% of polluted water, and they gave me a food that was outdated. And in that food, I still remember we would have like little tiny brown bugs that I would have to put aside and then eat that, and then often like pull out the threads from that food. And so working condition was so terrible. So I feel like we need to tell that detailed story more and more to people so they can understand that. Like, imagine leaving your child at the age of 10 and putting them into a dark room where they have to work like a machine and fed like an animal. And you know, in that time, in that process, I was not, I didn't felt like human. I felt like a machine, and my brain stopped thinking because I was making the same thing. So my creative mind was shutting down, and I just was doing the same thing over and over. And if my teacher, Leslie John, if he would not have come to my life and he helped me for the last 10 years, like you can imagine 10 years. And I don't know how old I am exactly, you know, I maybe I am 30 or maybe I'm 28. I have no idea. But like he guessed me and all that. But it just like how can we stop this traumatized many people who are experiencing this experience in the ground? It's like an iron gate. We can never make so far because there's so much challenges. So they are looking at people like you and yourself that who can keep asking question. Who made my phone, where it come from, and who made my, you know, the coffee that I drink, or the chocolate that I eat, or the clothes and the scarf that I'm wearing. And if we can ask questions and keep commenting and keep giving those comments to the companies to bring the transparency around supply chain. And I know they can do that, you know, but it's just about profit. And for many people, and as a human, we are having a really hard time letting go of our prophet. And that's where the big thing is. So I think as a general citizens, we need to keep demanding for justice and truth, you know, like people in Israel or people in any country that the products is being imported, they need truth, you know, they need that what's in their clothes, you know, how many gallons of water. It takes 1,300 gallons of water to make one t-shirt. And if that information is being put into that clothes, and if the companies holds that into a message, then people will never buy 20 times more than what they used to buy 10, 12 years ago. So that will change, you know. So I feel like Israel and your country and all the citizens, educated citizens, they need truth, and my community needs justice, you know. And as I said, like 40 million people, and most of them, they live in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, China, and we are voiceless, you know. We don't have a voice. I speak 5 different languages, and the challenge and the healing process that I had to go through as a person is, and I'm still going through, it's like, I don't know how to express that. Like only I know.
You're so brave.
I have to, because I like, you know, I feel like I feel like I have no turning back, and I feel like all my sisters and all my siblings, and they all are still participating in slavery, and people in countries like America and these countries are still importing slavery from overseas, and it needs to stop. And we deserve to consume the products which has a good energy, not bad energy. Yeah.
נסrין, what would you say to people in Israel that say that it's better that they have a job, the children over there have a job, then we won't buy anything, then they will left with no job and in the street? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I think that's a you know, you try to like get away from the real problem, and you say that, oh, we are providing the jobs by, you know, by buying 10 times, you know. I don't think you're providing the jobs. You are actually stealing the indigenous culture and traditions from those people. And I'm researching a lot back the history of my origin, and you know, something happened in my father generation and my great grandfather generations, that, you know, all these factories started to happen, and people started to leave their community and go and work in the factory, because they were being told that you will have a better life in the factory and you can support the family. Before that, and it is so funny. We used to, in the village, my grandmother tells me the story, they used to filter the water through clay pots, you know. And then when my grandfather went to work in the factory, they started to buy aluminum, you know. So it was more harmful, and then they were not able to filter the water anymore, you know, because the clay was filtering the water, the aluminum was not filtering the water. So they had to start drinking on through that. So you can just see that how they were stealing and replacing the fast thing. And then also one of the other example that I would give you is like, we used to have, you know, the whole villager used to storage the seed and for the planting and growing the farming. And when everybody started to leave for the factory, all started to buy the processed food and Coca-Cola and things like that, and plastics that we didn't understand as a community, but we were introduced by like, okay, now you make $10 in the factory, but now you can have a different food, you know. But it took a lot of the powerful things with the food when the farmers were saving the seed, and then they were, you know, the seeds were organic, and it was the land was healthy and good. And since my father generations, a lot of flooding started to happen, droughts started to happen, because we were not taking care of the land really well, and a lot of things started to get imported and packaged. So that was those are the example I feel like I want to tell to the people that they think that they're providing the jobs. I want you to think big, and if you want to give people, give from the full cup, not from the empty cup. Because if you give from the full cup, you know, make sure that you employ their parents where they can receive living wage, so they can send their children to the school, they can afford clean drinking water, they can afford nutritious food, you know, and then you are giving a job. If you are telling them and giving them less than $2, you are you're making a cycle of people where people are just like, their children are victim of, like my father was victim of the modern day slavery, then I became the victim of slavery. But if I fought for it and now I got my thing back, my voice back, and when I give to my women basic human rights, they are changing their children's stories and their culture stories. So I think giving a job, we need to look into it deeper if we are giving a job or if we are creating a problem.
Thank you. And what do you think about fair trade as a solution?
Yeah, I feel like fair trade is incredibly amazing, and fair trade should be principles of the business, and that's the values that will really bring people like us into it will make us more human, you know, and not machine, and give us the voice and the culture. So I love fair trade, and I know that in the ground it's really struggling, because a lot of the companies, the big companies, they can't, you know, they are having a hard time implementing those values. So we have a lot of hard work to do on that. But I do know that just providing a living wage and safe environment and nutritious food and clean water, those things are very, very important. Those are the root. And right now, like, millions of people are hungry, and so many people don't even have clean drinking water. And the business can change that if the companies can start focusing on bringing the basic human rights to the people. So instead of we just working like machine, we can work with our brain, with healthy brain, so we can create the healthy lifestyle. And right now, if you go to India or if you go to Kathmandu, capital city, people are inhaling 10 cigarettes a day because it's so polluted, and a lot of the industrial waste goes into our rivers and stuff. And right now people are having hard time to breathe. So how can even they make products and work? So a lot of sick people who needs help, they are being forced to work, and they need help from these companies.
Thank you. And for the end, the message that you want to send to the people in Israel.
I just want to thank everyone who, I see the little girl there, and thank you for listening. And, you know, we need to keep asking the questions, and ask question, who made your clothes, you know, where do your coffee come from, and where your chocolates comes from. And if I know that if Israel have done this work 10 or 12 years ago, and everybody have come together to ask these questions, maybe my childhood was not stolen in slavery, and I didn't have to go through that huge trauma in life. And still today, millions of children are working in these sweatshops, and they need you, and they need the support, and their voice is invisible. They're stuck in that tiny sweatshop. I remember when I was stuck in that sweatshop, I just needed somebody to open that door and rescue me and take me to the safe place. But nobody came. No one came. And I just cried and worked, you know? And So I just want people to wake up and really feel the humanity and really feel all those children that who are stuck in that situation, and we should end modern day slavery as soon we can. Like really, it's up to us. And I'm trying to bring all these good businesses and good people together to help me start helping those people who are still stuck. Like I'm working in Nepal in a very, very marginalized community where a lot of child labor are, where women are illiterate and working in the sweatshops. And so I'm trying to bring help to them. So we need you, and become an advocate for the work that I'm trying to do in the ground. And hopefully that will bring just helping one person at a time, like how my teacher helped me, you know, without attachment. He just gave me a book and dedicated every single day 1 hour to teach me. And that brought me here with all of you today. So I know you all can also do something. And you can see some of my work at empowermentcollective.org. That's where we are trying to build our whole charity work to end modern day slavery. So please visit empowermentcollective.org and learn more, become an advocate, stay connected with me. I need you, and I need to go back to those all people who are stuck and find them and help them as much I can, because that's the only way I can heal myself completely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think all of us are going to change the world for you, and to start asking all the questions that you are saying. You're amazing. It's the best conversation that I have ever been having. I'm so confused all this information together. Someone want to say something to נסרין, please?
Yes, נסרין, I just want, my name is Gael Viersman. I'm an attorney working in international law and international human rights at the law clinic. And some of my students are here today. We have a project working on fair trade with Raz Vogel. And I just want to thank you for your amazing just time that you've given us and your testimony. And you're really amazing. I can see all the chats here, and I can really just, they're echoing what I'm also saying out loud. You're really amazing. I think we can't say it enough. And also you show us the power of one person, what one person can do, which I think is a very strong message. I would very much like to continue the contact with you after this webinar or this meeting. So I'll look for empowerment.org. Is that it? Local empowerment?
Here, I will send the link so you can have it. Empowermentcollective.org. Yeah, I feel like, you know, this is trying to help somebody who's really stuck in the slavery. It takes a lot of energy, and I can't do it alone. You know, I need the leader, the thinker, the problem solvers to come and join, you know. And I know the community where the child laborers are, and I'm trying to first work in Nepal, because that's where and there in Nepal right now there is 1.6 million child labor currently, and a lot of it is in the fashion industry, but also in agriculture and brick factory, things like that. So I'm just trying to help people as much I can, but I feel like together we can do better. And the study just recently, the biggest study was done by the Walk Free Foundation that said that in every 130 girls or women, there is one person slave right now. So and it's like, how can, like, today it's me, tomorrow it can be someone else and someone else. So we need to really figure this out, how to end this problem. And this is happening because the consumers are really not aware and awakened enough. And I feel like if the consumer can really know that my products, you know, this stuff contains slavery, and how can I, you know, hold companies and the people accountable in the power to bring us the transparency around their companies. Because if they can do all of their jobs and bring the transparency, I feel like it will help. It will just join the force to end this slavery. Together we can, because I know that this is created by us, and we have also the power to change it. And I believe in a step by step, and having your support will means a lot. And I have dedicated all my life for this, because I know that this is the only way that I can heal myself completely. I have not seen my older sister for the last 15 years because she was forced into marriage, and then she had so many children, and she got stuck in this village and couldn't get out of that poverty and that intense experience. So like that, many people are losing their family members in my part of the world, and they need one another support. And if you have education, and if you have phone and internet and clean water, you are the luckiest person in the planet. And you can become more powerful if you can use that power to bring the change that you see in the world needs help, you know. And either it's environment or the human rights, you know, we need to use our power to solving the problems that we see, so we all can become better human being and have a good connection with nature and with people.
Okay, hi. So I just overheard from the kitchen your lecture, and I have to say that you're an amazing human being, and you're amazing, and I hope you'll do the best. And you really inspired me. So good luck. And I think you're amazing. And yeah, so good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's just stay connected. You know, I feel like generation like you have so much has so much power, but also it's a very tipping point where we can use our power to unlock a lot of potential. But at the same time, if we misuse our power, we are going to devastate and like lose so many people's lives, you know. Right now in India, there is a huge crisis going on where, you know, like one person dying, and then the whole family is dying, and there's you know, the community is not educated enough, no, there's not resources. So we are already, so many people are losing their family members and losing family members, you know. It kind of that won't stay with you forever. So it's like we can use our power to make this planet healthier, so we will not have coronavirus. Otherwise, I feel like if we don't use this, we will have another pandemic and another pandemic, and that's how the other species got extinct, you know. And in my village, there was a saying that it takes 99 cycle of rebirth to be a human, because human is such a powerful form of energy and frequency. And if we use that power wisely and effectively, we can survive through this, and we can live in a more connected world and more spacious world than what we have right now. And I think this is one of the challenge right now that humanity have, that they have to let go of the greed, and they have to let go of the control, and they need to believe in abundance and knowing, like, you know, the equal rights, you know, like the rights of making sure that every single children that born in this planet have just basic human rights, you know. As a child, I just wanted clean water, I just wanted a nutritious food, and I just wanted a book to read so I could educate myself to become a responsible citizen. And I didn't have that in the beginning, and that gave me so much wound. But so blessed to have a teacher that saved my life. But for so many young girls, they don't have that. They don't find the right teacher. They find instead a bad person who takes them into a human trafficking and sex trafficking, and it goes on and on and on. So, you know, we need you, and we need each other.
I think we need you.
Yeah, we need each other. That's why I said we need each other. Yeah. Thank
Yes.
you.
The world has to do better, you
You
know?
are so amazing.
Oh my God.
We have your children that are inspired by you. This is the best thing we can do, to inspire the children to fight for children in the other part of the world.
Yeah, because you know the childrens are so they have such a pure energy, and you know we want to keep them their pure energy forever, you know, of like we became, because this world is such a hectic and such a intense place, and we become very slow, and our emotions shut down and our ability of heart shut down, but children hearts are open. And I feel like that the younger generation, and especially I feel like all the older generation also, I feel like they have so much knowledge, and if they can open up their knowledge to be more in service to the people, we can make the change faster. So the younger generation does not have to fight, you know. Like when I was very young, in my village we didn't have the electricity, so I used to look at the stars in the evening every single day. We had no schools, we had no notebooks, nothing, but so all the evening I would just count the star, you know, and trying to like, and I always wanted to be astronomer, you know, because it was the first connection as a person I had when I born, and with nature, and then I ended up in this whole thing because I feel like, oh my God, now child labor and the sweatshop, that's like, I need to fight for this in order to even get there. So, you know, I just want to like tell people, like, don't leave baggage to your children, you know, because they deserve a better life, and they deserve, you know, good space and good universe to explore, and good earth. Yeah.
Okay, so נסרין, thank you very, very much. We're glad to have you. I assume that all the people here will invite you to meetings all in many places in Israel, so you can keep telling your story, and people in Israel will change their mind and start to ask questions about their stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We will be in contact.
I have a very special connection with Israel because my teacher, he passed away last year, and his desire was to be to have his last breath in Israel, but he didn't made it to. So you know, I have a very, very special space for Israel in my heart, because my teacher was he was Jewish, and he taught me from very early age about Chabad and Sabbath, and we did all these ceremonies and stuff, and he wanted to spend his breath in Israel, and he wasn't able to do it. So I just want all of you to send him prayers and love, that the love that he has for the Israel, because his spirit can feel you know, good about it. Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.